Hey guys, Barry here, and welcome back to another edition of the Nintendo Impact Gaming podcast show. And I have some lovely guests today from Norway. I have the creators here of Shadow Puppeteer, which is coming out next week for the Wii U, and I cannot wait. I have Katharina, and I have Mariana as well. Hello, girls. How are you?
Hi, we're
Hi,
fine.
So it's
thank you for asking.
thanks for coming on the show. It's very exciting to have you on. Like, to be honest, I'm new to the company the last couple of weeks, and when I saw your game, coming out for Wii U, and then I was like, oh my god, I have to play this. It just looks stunning. I got the game on Steam as well, and it's just so much fun. It's just so different from other games out there that I've played.
That's so nice to hear. Thank you.
Okay, so if you don't mind, tell us about Sarepta Studio. How did the company come together, and how did the game come together?
Well, actually, the game concept was created before the company, but not necessarily in relations. We were four students who sat together and wanted to come up with some concept for the Dare to Be Digital contest. And we were just brainstorming, late in the evening, and someone started talking about shadows, and we just really hooked onto the idea and found it really fascinating to start thinking about, what it would be like if your shadow was alive, and how would your relationship be, and then we just realized that this would be a really great co-op game. So when got towards the end of our bachelor's degree, we realized that there was a lot of people in our class that wanted to work with development, but in different groups. And then we just decided that if in our local area we'd rather work together. So we started up 15 people together in one company.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and then we just decided to go for the Shadow Puppeteer concept because it was, even though it was a bit scary and big, it was really really interesting to work with. So, and we got some really great feedback from other seasoned developers. So we decided why not.
Yeah, so like I know like doing a project or something, it's always very tough. Like I done creative media in college, and there was like a games area. Like we make a project group, and they make a game out of it. For PC, like a little flash game, and we done a game for kids. But even that there, it was just 5 people, and even that was tough for myself, because like there was so
Yeah,
much work involved in it.
I
Yeah,
don't think
definitely.
anyone chooses game development because it's easy.
Really.
Yeah. No, we have. I mean, even our teachers felt it was a bit ambitious to start with, but I mean, we waited until we had started a company and we were all in it 100%, and then we did get a lot of great feedback. And I think what we've done right is we've kept talking to other developers, both new developers like ourselves, but also reached out to more seasoned developers, and they really do come through and help you out a lot. So I think that's been a big help.
Yeah, I like when different game companies come together, and even collaborate sometimes. Like you have companies like Zoink Games, you have companies like Image and Form, even Mojang as well. Like there's three Swedish companies, and just how much they've changed. Like the indie game industry is absolutely fantastic because it gives other companies a chance to be themselves. Create a different game like that's not well like quote unquote like your triple A game like anything from Naughty Dog, anything from Nintendo, anything from PlayStation. It gives people the chance to play other games that people mightn't think they might not want to play, but when they see it, like when I first saw Shadow Puppeteer, I was like, I have to play this game. This looks amazing.
I think that's a really good point that with the recent indie movement, you just get so much more diversity in games and so much more to choose from.
What I love about Shadow Puppeteer is you have your 2D and your 3D kind of gameplay. Your shadow is your 2D, on the wall kind of, and then the player gets to move around in the 3D. Like from what I've played myself, because like I'm 25 years old and I've been playing games since I was 3 years old, and there's not many games that I've played that's like that before.
Well, we certainly tried to add something new. I'm sorry, Katarina.
No, 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 no. You can go with it.
I mean, puzzle and platforming gameplay, that in itself isn't, I mean, it's been done before, let's agree on that, and there have been some fantastic games. But for us, it was really important to try and see if we could add something to that tradition and create an experience that was not completely new and in that way terrifying, but there was enough of something familiar that you could get into it quickly, but enough of that new and strange so it would be fascinating and give you that experience that you hadn't had before. I'm really glad that you've had that.
Yeah, I think it's really well done anyway, the whole concept, and it really works well. So can I ask, what was the challenge from bringing the game from PC to Wii U?
Well, there's always or I assume there's always a lot of problem or challenges when you go from one system to a completely different system. So I guess the challenges was just trying to, work with different machinery and to do the right type of optimizations, and to make sure that, everything runs smoothly, at all times. I guess that was the biggest challenge.
Yeah, I mean, it's very different with PC and with console. It's not just kind of the hardware and the software and all the things you need to observe, but also at kind of looking at it with the community. It's so different, and we really love Nintendo fans. It's been so wonderful getting to know them.
So what was your idea for bringing the system to Nintendo Wii U? Like, why didn't you choose Xbox One, for example, or PlayStation 4? What made you choose Nintendo?
Do you want to do this one, madam?
Yeah, I'll be happy to answer this one. So the thing that we really like about the Wii U is how it focuses on shared experiences. I mean, it's a kind of console that you play on with someone else in the same room and you have that shared experience. It's a perfect console for friends, for family. I mean, parents and children, and also if you have a significant other, it's a really good way to have that experience. And also, Shadow Puppeteer is best suited for controllers, which makes it really perfect for console.
Yeah, I totally agree with that answer. Like Nintendo gives you, like since they've been doing it since day one, it gives you like family feel, that home feel with friends. Like playing games like years ago on the Nintendo 64, such as Mario Kart 64, GoldenEye, even playing Donkey Kong as well, like playing together with friends. It's just something about it, at home is just so much different than playing online with friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're really glad that people are responding well to that because of late, games have been moving more and more towards playing online. But we really love that experience of playing with someone in the same room, sharing high fives, talking with each other. It's really, really great.
What games did you play growing up yourself anyway?
Um, well, I had an older brother, so I was privileged enough to sit with my little sisters and watch him play. And, it was a lot of Castlevania and Zelda, also a lot of Mario, where we're actually allowed to play ourselves too. But then when I grew older, I also started getting really into stuff like, you know, Persona and Final Fantasy. There's always been something that's either, it games that are, even if you play them alone, they're still very social experiences.
Oh, I definitely grew up playing a lot of platforming games. I love platforming games. I mean, we grew up and we had the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System. We would play Super Mario, we would play Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, which is a really cool co-op game too. But then I moved on to PlayStation, Spyro the Dragon, PlayStation 2 with Jak and Daxter. I'm so in love with Jak and Daxter still. I play it once a year. I just sit down and I complete it from start to finish.
Yeah, like there's not many games today like Jak and Daxter, I don't think. Like something like that, it was just so revolutionary, I think. Especially the PS2 era, you had games that had, from Rockstar, GTA 3, Grand Theft Auto 3. I think it just changed the industry forever. Jak and Daxter changed the industry forever for the good as well. Because it's just so different, like it was so open world. It was a great adventure, it was a great platformer game. And it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, building these virtual worlds that you can navigate freely, it's one of the true strengths of video games to me.
Okay, so tell us about the music of Shadow Puppeteer. Like, I've heard a few songs and I just fell in love with it. Can you tell us how who's it from? If people don't know who it's from, how did it come together?
Well, actually, we were contacted by school that wanted to have wanted us to set up a competition for some of their students. And this one student, Ragnhild, um, I'm sorry, Mariana, what was her last name?
She has three names. It's Ragnhild Tronsmo Haugland. She's Norwegian, in case you didn't realize.
Yeah, and she just had this really nice sound, and so we contacted her and asked if, she would be interested in working more with us. And she's a classically trained cellist, so she'd never done anything for games before. And but then when I went to the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco, I ended up meeting with Peter McConnell, and he really, really, really liked the game and the concept, and so he wanted to come on board and assist us on the music. So Ragnhild worked together with Peter to create the music that you hear today. I think they really worked as a great team, and her music just ended up doing something quite unique, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, we totally fell in love with Ragnar's sound because a lot of people kind of sent us stuff and was like, oh, I want to be a games music composer. They were either trying really hard to get that retro games like 8-bit music, or they were trying to be Hans Zimmer. And that's totally fine. But we were looking for something different. And I think Ragnar's music has that perfect mix of playfulness, of adventure, of kind of a vulnerable loneliness as well. At times it has a lot of melancholy to it. And yeah, I've loved it from the start.
I think we wanted to also create, this atmosphere. So just combining kind of our, Norwegian landscapes with this loneliness, and then together with her type of music, it really just really came together.
Okay, so tell us about the awards and recognitions that you've won so far for the game.
Yeah, well, we've been nominated for quite a lot of different.
The most recent one was Best Nordic Game of the Year.
Yes, and then the most promising IP.
That was the one we won. And then
Yeah.
we won the Director's Choice Award at Indie Prize Europe. Both those awards, we were so happy to be not just nominated, but to actually win them. It was such a wonderful moment to get that kind of recognition.
Yeah, like was there like a big event, or was it like an online thing where they kind of told everyone about the awards, the nominations and stuff? What way did it work?
Well, for the Director's Choice, we're actually nominated to go to a game event in Amsterdam, and you had like 120 games that were exhibiting. They were all kind of nominated, and they did have all these different. We were sitting at the awards ceremony at the end, and you could see all the different nominated games. And I was actually filming at the time because one of my colleagues had just won one of the prizes, and so I kept filming, and then they just, without nominating any games, they just kind of announced Shadow Puppeteer, and I was so startled. The guy just kind of pushed me up the stairs.
Stop filming.
Yeah.
Well, a big congratulations anyway. It's really well deserved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So can I ask, do you do any, or have you any plans for any collaborations with any other indie companies for the future?
Well, we're a part of a collective in Hamar, in our city, called Hamar Game Collective, and there are 8 studios there. One of them, for instance, Skrillbite Studio, who did Among the Sleep. And since we're all from the same environment and a lot of us actually from the same background, we do end up doing a lot of, do a lot of jams together. So I definitely wouldn't rule it out. We haven't had anything planned specifically, but working with these guys and playing around with those guys are really fun. So there might be something.
Did you have anyone in mind?
Who, me?
Yeah, I mean, since you bring it up.
Well, I don't know. If you're going to go for, I guess, sort of local, well, I've got a good connection with Zoink Games. They're from Sweden as well. And Emmy, she knows Klaus from Zoink Games, the creator of Secret to the Man. and Zombie Vikings, which came out there last year. And they've actually put me as a character in Zombie Vikings, like in the background, you know. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, we've kind of collaborated already. We have game jams at Hama Game Collective, and it's a really good environment. We already have some projects that we're doing with but they're not other game developers. But we're definitely open to work with other people. Other people are cool.
Yeah, and we've actually we have this jam now that happens in February on a Norwegian cruise boat.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, it will be so much fun. And there are 100 developers who have signed up. 20 of them, or they're from 20 different countries. So who knows who we might be meeting up there and jamming with.
Maybe I'll be there recording.
Oh, please do.
So can I ask you your personal favorite game of all time, apart from Shadow Puppeteer? What is your favorite game today?
Oh, that is a really difficult question.
That's why I asked
Phew. Well, actually, my personal favorite, and I guess it's also because it really inspired me to become a developer in the end, is Final Fantasy VIII. I was so completely immersed in that game. And I'm not much for crying, and I think it's a bit silly when people cry at movies and stuff like that, but I just I couldn't help it on Final Fantasy VIII. It just completely blew me away. What about you, Mariela?
Yeah, I was thinking, because I've already kind of told you. I mean, there are no other games that I will play regularly every year like I do Jak and Daxter. It's just so wonderful in so many ways. It flows so well, it feels so good, the characters are so funny. But I mean, like for instance, Super Mario Brothers 3 for the NES, that will also always have such a special place in my heart, because it's kind of with that game that I learned how to play. And yeah, it's incredibly satisfying to see all of these top 10 lists around the internet about like best Nintendo games of all time. And at least if they're talking about NES games, that will very often end up in like first place or second. And I will go, yeah, because that's the game I played.
Yeah,
Well, I
like
feel definitely justified in loving it.
yeah. Like I feel like Super Mario is one of those games where it's a good game to start off if you're gonna get into gaming as such, because it's just so easy. You have your left and right button, you know, you have your jump button, and just even crouch up and down kind of thing. It's just so simple, yet so effective.
It's wonderful. I mean, the more recent Super Mario titles, I haven't mastered those quite, because then you get the wall jumping and the flipping, but they're still so much fun.
Yeah, so can I ask one question before we wrap it up, I guess? How do you feel about video games turning into movies? Like, coming soon, we have, like, Assassin's Creed. We are getting the likes of Uncharted and even The Last of Us movie, which I'm really excited about. I hope to get the cast right for The Last of Us. Like, for anyone who knows me, I love The Last of Us game on PS4, remastered, like, just the characters are just so good, like Joel and Ellie. How do you feel about movies anyway, that come from games?
I think there's a lot of traps to fall into when you try to copy a completely different kind of, medium. But at the same time, I do think it's really interesting. I mean, since I'm a Final Fantasy fan, I don't mind cutscenes and stuff like that. So I think some games like, The Last of Us, it, you really you really manage to get something there. I do think it's really risky though, and a lot of people, when you first fail, you fail really badly. But yeah, I don't. I think it's an interesting development. Um, as long as you also manage to realize that what is important with the game is still the experience and the interactivity and how you make people, interact with the game, not just make it, about sitting and watching it.
Yeah, on the other hand, though, making these games into films, I see as a great way of trying to introduce new people to these interesting worlds and characters. And as such, I'm all for it. But I don't ever think that these films are going to replace games in any way. As you said, Katarina, there have been good examples and bad examples. I mean, the Prince of Persia film with Jake Gyllenhaal, that was an entertaining blockbuster summer flick, wasn't it? Worked kind of well. Kept some of the spirit of the game. But I mean, no one would ever confuse it with the game. I think maybe that's the way to go. I mean, with The Last of Us, they could just wait 15 years or something, and maybe Troy Baker could play Joel again. But we'll see.
Well, just for an example, do not follow the Super Mario movie. It is... I seen it years ago and I haven't seen it in so long, but it's so bad, yet it's so good, if you get me.
Oh, it's totally my guilty pleasure.
I was going to say that myself too. I know people have said it afterwards, like, oh, that was such a horrible movie, but I'm like, yeah, but I kind of liked it.
Yeah, trust the fungus.
Yeah, like even the Need for Speed movie with Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad. Like, I really enjoyed that film, but I think as a film it actually worked. Because, with cars, it's a bit like The Fast and the Furious, but I think it kind of made it its own kind of genre as such, its own little film, and it really worked well. Like, all the stunts were real in it, so I think that's actually one of my favourite game video movies, of all time. Alright, so I want to say a big thank you for coming on the show anyway. And a big thank you to Emmy as well. She got us all sorted out for this podcast. And just before we head off, tell us the release date for the Wii U game, and are you on social network? Tell us your links.
Oh yeah, right. Well, the European release is set to the 28th of January, and yeah, I'm waiting on the hope.
It's still to be confirmed. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, please do. That's Puppeteer Game. Or you could just search for Shadow Puppeteer and you're going to find us. And we're also on Facebook.com/Shadow Puppeteer.
That's great. Thanks very much, girls. Thanks for coming on the show. I'll make sure that people go get the game because it is just so much fun. Like, I've had a blast of the couple of hours I played of the game already on Steam. So you can check us out on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Vine, and Twitch. And for more Nintendo and gaming podcasts, keep it right here. Thanks for listening, and as always, stay fresh.